Oh, as you probably know if you follow this channel, um, but maybe you don't. TIFF, the film festival that I go to every year, basically every year, um, they since 2017, they just celebrated TIFF 50, so their 50th anniversary. But in the year 2000, they did something else too to celebrate the occasion of an anniversary, their 25th anniversary. They made an omnibus film called TIFF Preludes, and I uh, thought it would be interesting to look back at this film, this omnibus film, and I wrote an essay about it. So not all of these films were easily available, but thankfully the TIFF reference library gave me access to them, and I've seen them all, and I wrote reviews. So first, this was for my paper, and now I'm doing it for the channel. So I'm also reviewing them in their chronological order. Let's get to it. 24 frames per second is the first short within the omnibus film TIFF Preludes that celebrates TIFF's 25th anniversary and appropriately focuses on the medium of film itself. The short starts by showing us film stock being projected and explains that with a flickering light, 24 frames of celluloid projected per second gives us the cinematic experience, the illusion of reality. The narration is done by director Jerry Podowswa. Then he talks about how his father used cinema as a refugee as a German directly after World War II, and how he saw himself and humanity represented on the screen. This fiction pierced through and became a form of reality. Authentic emotional storytelling can have great resonance and seemingly forge through as real or truthful, to finally breaking apart a notional of fictional filmmaking. All right, camera, here's the good stuff. Leslie Carlson played a weathered actor in David Cronenberg's short film Camera, a film I had seen over 20 years ago for the first time, and I had revisited it constantly over the years, showed it to friends. Leslie talks with the camera often very uncomfortably close to his face, and he's talking about how these kids who are in the house found a camera and how excited about it they are while he dreads it. He talks as if being captured by the camera is existential destruction, capturing the moment and killing it. It's very strange but philosophical dialogue, contrasted with the lightness of kids playing around with the camera. The contrast is notable, and a friend of mine anxiously asked me while the short was played if the kids would be hurt. They would not, at least physically. But Leslie puts you through a real vortex, making you think their souls will be consumed. Mike Jones' contribution to TIFF uh, Preludes, congratulations, adds another level of appreciation of cinema from a Canadian perspective. It seems to mock the idea of an esteemed industry here at the time. It takes these farmers from Newfoundland and puts them in a helicopter with some nice screwy daydreams taking hold, then a suit-and-tie evening party in the end that is equally wacky. Maybe it just has no illusions for what making films in Canada is. The nation itself seems to mostly reject its own works, even the great ones. And then some self-satisfied people make speeches to each other occasionally. It's perhaps cynical, but perhaps just an honest view of things is not exactly mean-spirited, since it is a comedic short film, but it does have some spine. Legs Apart showcases a strange but undeniable Canadian type of humor as we get a tale of a woman giving birth surrounded by fast talkers as if they were out of Howard Hawks' His Girl Friday. There's a certain quirkiness here already, and then the climax is the woman gives birth to film stock, celebrating the anniversary of TIFF by ushering in a new era of Canadian cinema, or a celebration of cinema in general, 25 years after the birth of TIFF. It is funny, unique, and quirky. Just like the Canadian identity is largely based on distinguishing itself from America in every regard, this has what Generation Z refers to as tryhard energy. The Line by Atsum Agoyan evokes a general sense of cinephilia, at least in a positive concept. Despite being a little wacky, there is a general tone of a thrill for being in a line at TIFF. There is a pan of a line for a TIFF screening, and two people talk about Marshall McLuhan's scene in Annie Hall, concluded with a medium shot is the message. And in fact, we see the medium angle of the people in line. The legs and shoulders are cut off in the shot. It is strange, but more of a celebration of TIFF, a buy into the festival as a concept of something showcasing Canada positively on the world stage, made by an auteur who has done quite well for himself in the industry. The Heart of the World by Guy Madden evokes the dawn of cinema. It is done in the style of a 1920s epic, in Madden's own way, but has the feeling of something significant, coming like the formation of the USSR in an Eisenstein film. That kind of grandness is appropriate for a tribute to TIFF, coming from a Canadian who has had an interesting and prolific career in the film industry, unlike many people here. It reflects someone who is grateful. The scope and tone of the piece suggests that TIFF is conquering the world for Canada, while in reality, it might just be helpful for a handful of people, not exactly the nation itself. Still, like Asa McGoyan's short film, it is aesthetically interesting and accomplished, but in terms of subtext and political economy, there is commentary to be made. Prelude by Michael Snow is somewhat anarchic, loving, and disparaging look at cinema, maybe in Canada, maybe as an immigrant in Canada, and maybe just generally speaking. It is not something to revere, according to my interpretation of the film. As this is part of TIFF Preludes, it takes a meta approach and is a movie within a movie. It is at times moving, but still, it is a steady pan across the room during a scene. There are some, I am sure, deliberately poorly delivered lines, some pointless nudity, and the pointless destruction of a vase. The logic of the film seems to find cinema fun but nothing sacred. It is something that can be mocked but still appreciated. There are perhaps layers of contradictions to pull back, or maybe it is more of an experimental pain. See You in Toronto by Jean-Pierre Lefebvre. We have in TIFF Preludes. Perhaps if TIFF had an omnibus film to celebrate TIFF 50, there might have been at least one or two more from Quebec. It feels like a confrontation in Ontario or the rest of English-speaking Canada, until the end, where there is a little bit of a sellout moment for good measure. One can be bitter until opportunity awaits, perhaps. The bit is fun and strange, like the majority of the other shorts, but is spoken in French and deals with the alienation and resentment in the culture. It makes its presence known, but also has a sense of humor. This Might Be Good by Patricia Rozema fits within the TIFF Preludes aesthetic. It is quirky and in the space between revering and mocking the celebration of Canadian film in a meta way and formal way. We get a bunch of usual suspects, TIFF hotshots. Sarah Pauly comes to the stage to talk about her TIFF movie, and there is Carleton University friend Pierce handling there to greet her. But it is shot in black and white. There is no dialogue, just gestures. It's not made to look like a 20s epic like the Madden short. It is classy, slick, sort of a product that says nothing. Then we get the movie within the movie, as the film's intertitle states. Someone is making sexual gestures towards the projectionist, and things conclude. This is a loving mockery on high-scale fare that is void of substance to a degree, but is surely nice to look at. Okay, one more. A word from the management. During public screenings at TIFF, there are PSAs ran about how great the volunteers are, and how we at the festival should all appreciate them. A Word from the Management by Don McKellar takes their point of view for a film. And as disgruntled former volunteers talk about the difficulty of TIFF, and frankly, all events on the scale of TIFF are going to be chaotic, it is a funny and true to TIFF Preludes form, and a reverent and bizarre take on things. The volunteer recounts his horror tales in a voiceover while we see various people watching a film. All of the volunteers' pain has led to their enjoyment, so remember to appreciate those who do things for you. If See You in Toronto was an obligatory film due to its francophone representation, then this particular short should be viewed out of necessity for all the mistreatment that the volunteers put up with for the rest of us at the festival to enjoy ourselves. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I had fun reciting it. Maybe it was a little overwhelming at 8 a.m. to do, but it was cool nonetheless. So I, as you can see by the ratings, I really enjoy these films. You know, the David Cronenberg and Asa McGoyan get 5 stars. Everyone else gets 4.5. And yeah, it's not easily available, but I thought it would be fun before the new year ends the year of TIFF 50 to look back to the year 2000 and chat about TIFF Preludes. That's it for me. Peace out, y'all.